Thank you. Good afternoon. So everybody's caffeinated, ready for the last session of the day? Good to go? Yes? Excellent. I'd like to start by asking, hands up, who's read a good novel? What about seen a good movie? More hands, less readers, more movie watchers. Who has sat around a campfire, maybe with their grandfather, a friend, told a story, ghost story? Still a few hands, excellent. I'm here to talk about VR, but it's actually, as some of our speakers have talked about today, we've done this kind of thing for much longer than just the last few years. We've always connected and communicated with each other, and usually with stories. I can look at our history and say, what we've always tried to do is connect people. So that's been something we've done again and again and again, all the way through history, all the way back to sitting around the campfire. Entertainment, communication, learning, teaching. Virtual reality is just another step. It's not anything different, it's just another step. So today, I'm going to run through sort of why it's important and how it affects you right now. And I could add to that why I think it's important, how I think it affects you, because there are differing opinions about this, and I've already had some spirited discussions, which is awesome. That's what I'm here for. And I'm also going to talk about what we've been doing and what we've been learning. So this is probably in the last 6 to 9 months formally, but a little bit further than that. Just before we kick in, I do want to just cover some terminology, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Augmented reality, AR, sometimes called mixed reality. I think it was a Microsoft, they coined that one to kind of create a bit of a separation, is about adding something to the world around you. Okay. So it can be as simple as holding a phone up to a sign. Some of you might have done this. I've certainly done this. It makes travelling a lot easier. Read a sign in a different language. Brilliant application of augmented reality, taking something in the world, adding information in this case. This is the classic at the moment. This is Google HoloLens, whoa. Microsoft HoloLens. And yeah, don't let that get back to either of them. That's a marketing shot, promo shot, but that's very close to the reality. Very, very close. Okay, it's not that pretendy, make-up-y, markety. Apologies to any marketers. The field of view is narrow, but that's the reality. It's just a technical problem. It's going to get bigger, and that's what your home will look like. VR is replacing the world around you. AR is adding to it. You're still here. You get extra stuff. VR is replacing you. It's taking you somewhere else. And rather than showing you, where is it? Oh, it's camouflaged. Rather than showing you screenshots of virtual reality, we're going to do it. So if you haven't already sorted this out, open it up, take it off, open here, pull it around, the flaps close, and stick to the side. Okay, so you'll end up with this. The rubber band stays at the bottom. It's to help your phone stay in. But saying that, while we're doing this, pays to put your hands on either side because your phone can still slide out. This little thing on the side is a button. Okay, that's not going to be particularly relevant today, but that's how you've got a one-tap interaction with the screen. Your phone slots in here, and here we go. So before you stick your phone in, please fire up. Oh, I should say, Google Expeditions, this is what we're going to do. I have the guide here. I need you to fire it up, and you'll see the screenshot above. Click follow, and you'll see me inside the application. Hit follow in there, and you will join the expedition. Now, this is a record. I've been talking to the product manager for Google Expeditions. The most they know of is about 30 to 40 people, okay? But there is no technical reason why it can't be 300. So I said, right. It's funny you mentioned that number. we're going to give it a go. Yes? He did say the network may not support it. The constraint will be the network hardware, not Google Expeditions. Currently, I have 41 people joined. Are people still trying to join? Yes. What's it saying? Oh, 70, 80. Surely we can break 3 figures. Can hear our network hardware groaning, I'm sure. Okay. For those of you that are in, congratulations. Sorry, we have to move on. For those of you that are not, have a look around at all the weird people around you. So from here, this is just a bulk standard iPad 2. I'm going to start the expedition, and okay, we've just cracked 100. So we're already 3 times. Okay, so at the moment, sorry, I should have put this through. All the little smiley faces are where everybody's looking, if you can see that. I can see where you're looking. And everybody's looking all over the place. So the other thing, if you're in there and having a look around, and there seems to be about 20 or 30 of you doing it, then you will see there's an indicator to go and look at a sea lion. And sea lions are playful, inquisitive, and make them a tourist favourite. That's very bad. They may be slightly clumsy on land, but underwater they transform into gymnasts. So again, hands up who's managed to see something. Quarter of you maybe. Okay, I'll leave this running, but continue. And let the Google product manager know he needs to work on his network code. So, as you can probably guess, and I would suggest having a go with this later, you get to see an immersive environment. This particular one is under the sea with sea lions floating all around you. They're all around you. There's some great ones with whales, all sorts of things. You can go to the top of Mount Fuji. Google Expeditions is for classrooms, so it's a learning and teaching tool. The kids that have used it and played with it love it. And there's also been studies on retention and learning and stuff. It has a massive impact. So, an example of virtual reality, in any case. So, why is it important, and why right now? I've broken this down into 3 areas. So, tech, business, and people. You've seen this. This is a common diagram for us. Starting with the boring ones, tech. A lot of smart people have done a lot of smart things. The list is endless. There's a whole lot of it, and I'm happy to talk about it, but it's really immaterial. It's an enabler. It doesn't have value in itself. It leads to the next step. On the business side, so Google, just to give some examples, Google have invested $500 million and have released Daydream. Daydream is out publicly in about 2 months. It's the upmarket version of the cardboard plus modifications to Android. Android will have, within 2 months, dedicated VR support baked in for everything, any app that's running on it. Windows 10 already does. So Apple, secretive as always, but they've hired about 100 people and they've bought 6 companies in the space in the last year. Facebook paid $2 billion for Oculus. So this is all within the last 18 months. So there have been about 15 released headsets, pieces of hardware in the last year or so, from November last year, which was the Gear VR, so Samsung's version of cardboard. And the players, there is a lot of people playing in this space right now. There's a lot of money flowing into it. Business, reason important, a lot of people are backing it, lots of money, lots of stuff going to happen. Again, I consider that to be a bit of an enabler, but indirect, and I'm not even going to get into predictions from Gartner and IDC and so on, but they are predicting big numbers. But really, the real reason I think now is that. Okay? That is why. So that is the face of somebody doing something. I don't actually know what he's looking at. I've tried to find out. I see this all the time, every single time. Okay? That's why. Engagement, connection. So with all those things in place, especially the technical stuff, we've crossed the uncanny valley. You will believe you're there. Jimmy mentioned me breaking bones. I've fallen off things. All sorts of stupid things have happened. I have videos of my CEO basically just toppling backwards. Yeah, you believe you're there. It's very strong. And the key point compared to what we do now is that VR is not virtual. I think that's a real misnomer. It's more real to people than anything behind a screen, than trying to poke through. Brett Victor touching things under glass, yeah? I have never, ever seen in my UX career the engagement that people have with even the simple things I've built so far, not to mention some of the more advanced stuff in games and things that I've tested people with. People get into it really quickly. That's why I think so. That's why I think now and why it's going to have a big impact. So how does it affect you or me? Get this one a lot. I beg to differ. You are. And the reason I say that is not a prediction or anything kind of in depth. It's really simply history. Okay, we've already been through this. I said earlier that VR is nothing new, AR is nothing new. The fundamental thing behind it all is connection, is people connecting with people. And that's the same thing in the engagement. You know, it's all part of the same thing. And we've been through it. We've been through this stepping scale. So those of us that were still standing at the 10 to 15 year mark might remember building applications for desktop PCs. And then the web came along, and it was different, but it was the same. We had to learn a few new things, and there was some new tech involved. But you couldn't have a menu bar at the top, and there was no command line if you want to go even further back. But we learnt, we moved on. And then these wonderful, game-changing things came along, and there was this massive kind of, what do we do with these, and it doesn't work, and that does work, and do we do something different? Is it the same? Again, the tech changed, the user experience changed, the context changed. People were still doing the same things, but they were doing it differently. We had to learn how to deal with it. This is just the next step. Now, mobile phones and tablets, what? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, really. 2007 for the original iPhone, 2010 starting to become sort of spread. So what, we're sort of, let's say, 5 to 8 years on, and I certainly haven't designed anything that is not mobile for a very long time when we're talking about something on the web. And that's been driven by ubiquity. Devices are everywhere. Everybody has them. So cross-channel, cross-medium, cross-device, cross-reality. That's what we're doing. What you're designing now is going to be used in a VR space if it still exists in 2 years. People will be browsing the web in a VR and AR space. So, what am I doing right now? Nothing particularly unusual. Listening to the people that are coming in our doors, talking, people that are worried. This VR thing, does it affect us? Going out and actively talking, we're running workshops, we're doing all sorts of things, trying to explore it, and we're building stuff. We're also doing this, taking what we normally do and seeing how it would work to gain experience. And Jade has this thing, I work at Jade has this thing called Ground Zero, where you get a week, it's like a 20% time. You get a week to go hard on something. So last time round we did a natural language interface, we did an Internet of Things thing, and we did this thing that we labelled as Meander. And it was just to build a virtual reality map suck some data out of some public source and put it in there. 5 people, 3 days. 2 of those days were dealing with Twitter and Twitter's API. The goal was to learn as much as possible and get something up and running. It's basic, but it works. You stand on Wellington and you look around and there's New Zealand and all the tweets come up. So if you search the app stores, you'll find it, iOS and Android. You can have a look. It's an example of the work, and really it was to drive learnings. We learnt a lot out of it. We're already showing it to clients who have comparable problems, and they're loving it. So what we've learnt, the things I really want to talk about, process and people. There are lots of people doing designy things. So what does a button look like? How does it work? Typography in VR is really interesting and very different. But a few things we have learned so far. You can't explain it, so you have to try it, and then you get the goldfish guy. And that includes us and the engineers. You just don't get it. Reminds me of Henry Ford. How did he explain a car to a cattle rancher who has horses? I'm going to take your horse and bolt wheels on it and it'll go faster. I don't know how he did it. He must have done something, but I don't know. But that's what it feels like. Key point, they're solving the same problems. They're real problems. This is not, just turning it into a toy is not going to work. And paper and wireframes, our bread and butter, doesn't cut it, especially if you have clients involved. You can barely get them to sketch boxes and stick figures at times. Trying to get them to sketch in 3D, forget it. It doesn't work. This one really got me. User testing, you have to have a shared space. You have to be there. You have to be communicating and connected. You can't look in from the outside. And our intuition is completely wrong. So lots of dead ends. But once people have tried it, they want more of it. They like it. I won't go as far as saying they love it, because we've got a long way to go and things like nausea can come in, but people's eyes open and they come out excited. I had to literally tear it off the CEO. Okay, he would not give it up. 5-minute demo, 45 minutes later, I wanted to go home. Yeah. And this is the face of a guy on the first time, and the second time, and the third time, and the 20th time. Okay, it's not something that just impacts and is done. So just to wrap up for you, it's happening today, not tomorrow. Tomorrow, today, theme, yes. Okay. Simply because what you do today will be used in it tomorrow, literally. We need to understand the medium. We're working as painters now, we need to be sculptors. Okay, there is a lot to learn, and personally I'm really looking forward to learning it. New stuff, learn new stuff, different industries. Yeah, it's half the reason why we do what we do. And it's going to change so many things, so many things. Phil was talking about it. It's going to change so many things. What those things are, we don't know, and we're just going to find out by walking it. But we do need to look forward. We need to try and figure that out and protect against it. Addiction is going to be a real problem. Yeah, I have a budget. I'm not allowed to go over it. People will still be people, though. So all we're doing is the same thing. We're connecting, creating ways to connect people. This is just another technology to do that, just like phones were, just like computers were, sitting around a campfire. And finally, I've got a challenge for you. You've listened to me talking. I want you to go away. I want you to think about this. The things you're working on right now, they will be applied in this space. In a year's time, come back, come here, and tell me what you've learnt. Tell me what connections you've made. Tell me what you've delivered to people and how you've done it. So, and maybe we can make a connection as well. I think this is the start of a journey, and I really do want us to be part of it. Thank you.